What's Nintendo planning? If you don't know, the team at Nintendo that usually handles the Super Smash Bros. Franchise, including their main developer Masahiro Sakurai, has recently been reallocated to the team making Kirby Air Riders. And Nintendo themselves announced this in a Nintendo Direct. And this is the type of thing where it's like, okay, so does that mean there's not another Smash game coming, or what does that mean? Because if he's working on a new Kirby game that's not even out yet, that's probably been taking up a lot of time. It's going to be hard to make another Smash game while that's going on. And not just that, when you look at something like Mario Odyssey, for example, Mario, which is the most mainline Nintendo thing there is, their main developer is now working on Donkey Kong Bonanza. So with both of these two teams kind of being separated to, I guess, a bit less mainstream games, it does kind of make you wonder, what is the future for Nintendo and what are they really planning with these big franchises? Because there's no way they would leave them behind. Nintendo leaving behind Mario? Like, that's just not possible. Clearly they're planning something, but I want to tell you exactly what I think it is. Nintendo, although being very, very unpredictable, has never really been the type of company to just go into a decision blindly. They plan out everything they do very meticulously, and although they'll often stray from the pack, that doesn't mean they're just choosing a decision at random. Oftentimes they do have their own intentions and decisions behind everything they do, and I think this is no different. I think it's very easy and obvious to say that we will see another Smash game, and we will definitely see another Mario game for the Nintendo Switch 2. I mean, it's just a 100% guarantee. But if these teams are developing other games at the moment, I think this begs an interesting question, which is who's going to make it, and what's that going to look like? Gaming's at a really interesting stage right now because you have PlayStation with Sony and Microsoft with Xbox doing very different and unique things that they've never really done as companies to attempt to compete with each other. You know, Xbox is really leaning into this Game Pass thing, and they seem to kind of be making their whole model built around this moving forward. And then you have PlayStation really trying to secure whatever exclusives they can moving into the future. And it just seems like each of these companies is really trying to make these big radical changes right now because they think moving into this next era of gaming, it's going to be a crazy one. And I really do agree with that. So I do think when it comes to a new Mario game or a new Smash game, I think they will be very radically different from what we know. Whether this is for the good of the community or the bad, you know, people may not like it, but I don't think it will be like anything we've ever done. Particularly in Smash, I have to say, because for something like Mario has always kind of reinvented itself. If you go back to, you know, how Mario started out, it was very, you know, 2D, and then you go to like Mario World, and they kind of just kept improving on it. And then you go to Mario 64, and that's just a whole new thing. And then Mario Galaxy completely reinvented it. Mario Odyssey completely reinvented it. So this is not new for Mario. And I think Mario fans will completely rejoice and embrace whatever they come out with because it's almost hard for Nintendo to mess up Mario. Now, watch this clip get played back in the future when the next game is terrible. But I do think that that's one, it's kind of like, that's their thing, bro. If they mess up Mario, I don't know what to say, but I really don't foresee that happening. However, I think Smash is a lot more of a touchy subject. I think as far as the community for it goes, it wouldn't be hard for them to do a lot to go against it in the community's eyes. People are very, very sensitive when it comes to everything Smash related because a lot of people care for it like it's their baby. And I almost could see Smash going a number of ways. And I wouldn't be necessarily shocked if the next Smash game has like a very cartoon-like Nickelodeon All-Stars Brawl, you know, multiverses style to it. And I really hope that's not the case. But I think it's possible if Nintendo is really, really trying to kind of appeal to a younger audience and a more casual audience, which I think they've kind of shown at points that they do want to do. I think even Zelda can somewhat be included in this discussion, because I just don't think they're making a Breath of the Wild 3. Like, I think even a lot of people were, I guess, somewhat let down by Tears of the Kingdom. I think still a lot of people liked it a lot, but it definitely couldn't do what the original Breath of the Wild was able to, because it was just like we had already done this once before, and they're just not going to go for it a third time. So even there's a lot of big expectations going into what Zelda will become, because they're going to have to try out something completely new, which they haven't done in a long time. You have to think of how radically different something like Breath of the Wild was from something like Twilight Princess, or Twilight Princess was from Wind Waker. Like, these games have such big jumps, and just because we've been riding off the same stuff for a while, I think people tend to forget that, or maybe just fear change. And it's not weird, it's very normal to feel that way, but it is a very natural thing. And I think even from Nintendo's point of view, they're somewhat skeptical going into a future launch, because they just want to make sure it's something that's going to keep all the new fans that they've gained throughout the Nintendo Switch's lifespan. I think something that does benefit Nintendo a lot is the fact that the console is literally called
Nintendo Switch 2,
which means it's not really a separate entity. This isn't like going from the Wii to the Switch, or from the GameCube to the Wii, because those are just completely separate. It's more like the Wii to the Wii U, where the controllers still work, a lot of the stuff is still the same, and because of that, I do think they could lean on sequels if they really wanted to. However, I don't think it's necessarily their wisest decision. I think far too much these days, the gaming landscape is leaning into things like sequels and remakes and essentially reiterations of games that have already been released before and have been successful. And there's a clear reason people do this. It's because we already know that this thing is going to work, because it's worked in the past. I mean, even that's the point of the Nintendo Switch 2. They didn't want to try something new because they were like, we know the Switch is great, we just gotta do it again, you know? And it's not even just gaming. I don't want to put it all into gaming. It's really entertainment as a whole these days. You see things like movies. If I got paid $1 for every single movie that got a remake or a sequel in the past 2 years, I mean, I'll tell you what, I'd be able to buy a whole nother Nintendo Switch to give away, you know? And speaking of which, I do want to remind you guys that I am giving away a Nintendo Switch 2 on July 16th to one of my lucky subscribers. So just make sure you have your subscription on public. So I will link the video that teaches you how to become a public subscriber right here. And yeah, but for this reason of mass saturation of just the same entities, essentially, and IPs being recreated over and over and over and over and over, the exact same, everything's the same, I think what Nintendo really needs to do is just stray away a little bit. I'd almost just rather have something completely different. Even though I like the way that Mario Odyssey is on the Switch now, and I like the way that Smash is on the Switch now, it's just the best decision to just try something completely new and just leave the past behind. Because I think if you dwell too much in the past, you can get stuck. And you never want to do that because you don't know how to move forward. Nintendo's always been ahead of the curve, and I think this should be no different. This may sound hopeful, but I actually do believe that we may get a new F-Zero or Star Fox game for the Nintendo Switch 2 as well. And again, moving into this idea of completely reinventing and just doing things radical and different, it's been a while for both of these, and it's not something impossible. And the fans are clamoring for it and have been for so long. There have been people waiting so long for the next Star Fox game, they don't exist anymore. They just disappeared from the universe because they just waited too long, you know? So it needs to be put into the universe pretty soon here so that we don't lose the whole population of planet Earth. And I do think that it is a very somewhat likely possibility for the Switch 2, or at least something similar to that. Something that's kind of going to be retro and appeal to that older audience, but with the new modern technology of the Switch 2, maybe even a Banjo and Kazooie game. I would play that, and I never played the first one, but I have always wanted to, and it would just be a cool way to get new people into it. Then there's the obvious conclusion of this topic, which is new IP. When was the last new thing that Nintendo created that was like really a big thing? ARMS? ARMS? I'm not even gonna go into the ARMS discussion again, bro. Nintendo just needs to try something that is just completely foreign. I don't think they should be fearful of it. I think this is always what Nintendo fans like, because really, what's the worst case scenario? They have nothing to lose. Some people will make fun of them for a little bit and then just move on. But if you keep playing it safe forever, you'll never do anything that can really stand out. Think of Breath of the Wild. Nintendo was always successful with Zelda, but then they decided to take a big risk in doing something crazy like Breath of the Wild, and look how it paid off. Everybody says it's the best game ever made. So if they just get out of their comfort zone and try something that's never really been done before in the landscape, I think that they could really create a really, really beautiful game. Maybe a series that will go on for a long, long time to come and have a big fan base. But what do you guys think? Do you guys believe that Nintendo is going to kind of take a big shift in this generation and make a lot of new changes and iterations to games that had already existed previously and create new IPs that will go on to be successful for a long time? Or do you think they're really going to lean into the 2 aspect of Nintendo Switch 2 and just kind of keep making the same thing over and over, but slap 2 at the end of it? Also, I need to do a tally in this video of how many times I said 2. Anyway, let's leave your thoughts in the comments down below. Be sure to like, subscribe, and see you. This is me before it starts raining. I've got a feeling it's gonna start raining pretty soon.